Well, hello there, magical people of the internets. It is Love Beer Radio with me and Joseph, NEP Beer Reviews, and Matt, Massive Beer Reviews. Joe's swinging some orange juice, because that's what he does.
Water, actually.
Water.
Yep, because that's what I do.
That's what you do. Out of an orange juice container, nonetheless, so it's like high class. This is a classy show. We keep it classy. So this is our 12th episode. And we still exist. We haven't been murdered or shut down or anything like that. So I think that's a success.
No one seems to be complaining.
No. Well, people complain, but we just don't listen.
Yeah.
And so should be another fun Monday afternoon, doing a little Monday afternoon funness. Last week we did it last week on Monday because we had brewers on doing like brewery spotlight, and that was the time they can come on. And then this week Joe was doing a little bit of traveling, so not to pack himself in and make it too hard. You decided to do another Monday.
Mainly, I didn't feel like bringing one beer home because there's not really much else that I want to bring home with me. So I'm not gonna bring one bottle of beer back. So I'll just forget. Son of a bitch.
Seeing Joe's throwing shit now. I mean,
as I completely fuck something up here. There we go. We're back.
Would you close the app or something like that?
No, I was trying to close the notification that we're live streaming the show because YouTube was telling me that we're doing it now.
Oh, I got you.
So, yeah.
So,
anyway.
So, what are you drinking? Water? Is that what you're drinking?
Water for right now.
Water for right now.
I was actually drinking this morning in the sensory class. We had a cocktail competition today. Ooh. So we was doing that this morning. So I'm like, I think that's actually kind of why I'm really tired, because it's like I woke up,
drank a bunch of booze at 9 a.m. Mason.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, like we had a bunch of different cocktails. Like one group made like this kind of like sangria with the fuck beer did they use? Oh, like a radler. So like a grapefruit radler.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And that was really interesting. And another group did like mango juice and gin with Tank 7 from Boulevard.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. I'm not a big gin fan, but that was really, or mango for that matter, but that one was really good. Another group did like a mocha beer float. So they took our Brewmaster Stout that we make at the college and chocolate ice cream and Kahlua and mixed it together, and that ended up winning the day.
It's a little cheating, always throw chocolate and Kahlua and something and it wins.
Yeah, really.
Like, this is delicious.
Well, what my group, we did this like strawberry. What we had, our components were like grilled strawberry puree, basil, cachaça, this like lime syrup, and some ginger liqueur. And our beer was actually Weyerbacher's Tart Nouveau.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, which was it was really, really good. I don't know how well it went off with the crowd, but it was a winner in my book, so that's all that matters.
Nice. Yeah, I did the radio show that I do on regular. I did it essentially by myself yesterday. There was 3 other people there, but I kind of like did most of the talking. That was a good time. We actually did. It was actually one of the best like beer shows that I had on there so far.
I saw you guys had like Eldorado on or something.
Yeah, we did. We did 2 Boulevard beers, 2 Only Game beers, and then Firestone Walker Eldorado, because the host of the show was up at Belgium comes Cooperstown. Cooperstown is owned by Duvel Morgat, and Duvel Morgat owns Boulevard Ommegang, or as partners with Boulevard and Firestone Walker and owns Ommegang. So it was like kind of like, let's do it that way. You know what I mean? Kind of makes sense. So it was a good one that way.
Yeah, yeah.
Did like a little mini bottle share afterwards of I got this. My buddy George went to up and did like a beer run on Saturday and went up and like did the whole like Boston kind of Vermont thing, and he got There's a place not too far away from us. They're called OEC. Have you ever heard of them?
No, I haven't.
I heard of them, but I didn't know much about them. But apparently they're owned by a company called B United. You know who B United is? B United's like almost like a Shelton Brothers, but a smaller kind of version of that.
Okay.
Where they do a lot of distro and stuff like that, but they have this brewery. And the one thing they do is pretty much, remember, it was about a year and a half ago. Remember, me and my buddy Babe, we took a beer we weren't too fond of, and we aged it in casks. We did a rum one and a Scotch one. They're doing that with like beer, with like actual already made beer. So he picked me up a I'm guessing it was a 2012 JW Lees that they emptied the bottles and aged them in sweet sherry wine barrels on like these weird grapes and shit. Yeah. So they took like a 2 beer and aged it themselves, and then recarbonated. I think they recarbonated because this one was pretty damn fucking flat. But you have to. You just can't throw them out there, I would imagine. And it was fucking pretty delicious. It was pretty fucking delicious. It was just cool to see that happen. Like someone do that. That's not something easy all that much.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Like already taking done beer and aging them in something. Like I wouldn't even know where to start like getting the carbonation back in. It's like there's.
Could you just force carbonate? Would forced carbonation work? Or
forced carbonation would probably work, but like I don't know. If you said this one was pretty damn flat, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's the thing.
It sounds weird.
An aged JW Lees itself isn't the most fucking effervescent fucking beer. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, any aged beer is gonna lose
carbonation.
Some carbonation. Yeah.
But and then and I looked into it, and I guess they've done a few JW Lees beers. They did their Moonraker. They've done that. I guess they do quite a bit of it, so that was interesting. But he also went to a brewery I've heard a lot of, which I'm drinking right now. I've never had anything from them before, and I'm drinking Eureka from Treehouse Brewing. I've heard of them. Never heard of them. This is it's New England hazy fucking hipster shit. You know what I mean? You see what it's about. But I'm telling you right now, this is the best low ABV beer I think I've ever had.
Wow.
Yeah, it's kind of like retarded because it says Eureka American Blonde Ale brewed with Citra hops. Isn't that what an IPA is? You know what I mean? It says it's American Blonde Ale and it says with Citra. Like, why wouldn't that be an IPA? I don't understand. Anyway,
or a pale ale or something like that. You know.
Well, it's an American Blonde Ale or American Pale Ale. I mean, you kind of split hairs a little bit, but it's also like whatever. Anyway, it's only 4.1%. And like when I smelt it, I was like, okay, it smells like a ton of Citra and it smells delicious. But then you look at 4.1%, you're like, okay, it's going to drink not even close to what I'm smelling because you can get a little bit more nose out of a beer as opposed to actual mouth. No, it tastes exactly like it smells, which I was blown away by. Yeah, it's ton of citrus, nice biscuit malt. Again, it's I think right now it's 18 hours old, so that has something to do with it. But
that doesn't suck, you know.
Yeah. Like he was like when he was getting them, they were actually canning them and then putting them in a case while he was getting them. It was
wow.
Yeah, so it was like they were literally canning them while he was waiting. So it's when it actually says 8.1 or it says 8.15 on it, it actually means it's that fucking fresh. Well, dude, day and a half old. Sorry, 18 hours.
Yeah,
30 hours, 32 hours. Anyway, so it's delicious. But yeah. So what are we going to talk about this week?
So today we're going to be talking about how to get people into craft beer. Now I'm using craft beer. I know we kind of go back and forth between craft beer and good beer. You're not the biggest fan of the term craft beer, but I feel like it fits in this scenario because whatever beer people like, that's good beer to them.
Yes.
So we're talking about how to get non-craft or even non-beer drinkers into craft beer. And then we're going to be finally reviewing Mass Rising from Jack's Abbey.
It's been kind of in the shoot for a little while, huh?
Yeah, really. And then we're going to finish off with how to get people into other styles of beer, hoppy beers, people who like hoppy beers going into malty beers, or maybe even malty into hoppy, low ABV up to higher ABV. But before that, I want to talk about the brewery that I was at on.
Oh yeah, we got to do
Friday.
Like beer newsy stuff. What we're
yeah.
into. Yeah, do that.
So on Friday, if people around our area may or may not be familiar with the blog Whiskey Bacon, it's a food blog run by Dan Kimbrough. He's a professor at Misericordia. He also has a production company, which I'm not entirely sure what the name of is. So I'm not going to even guess. But a couple of years back, he reached out to me to go to like different breweries with him and do like a kind of a brewery spotlight, little mini review sort of deal, where we're sitting down with a brewer and having a bunch of different beers. First time we did it, didn't really go anywhere, but I got to meet the guys from Breaker, which was really cool.
Yeah.
Then a couple weeks back, he reached out to me again, was like, "Hey, we're gonna get back into this and like actually do something with it now. Would you want to, be a part of it?" I'm like, absolutely. So on Friday, I went down to Rusty Rail Brewing Company, which is in Mifflinburg, and that's like kind of like middle of nowhere farm area of central PA. Right around Bloomsburg. It's kind of like by Bloomsburg and State College. It's like in that generalized area. But they're a super new brewery. When I was there, I was telling Matt, I was telling you before we went live, I got there and they're paving the parking lot. And like they're doing all kinds of construction and like still kind of painting murals and stuff inside the building. It was just really neat. So they've only been brewing in their facility since February, I believe. And the guy that's brewing is like straight out of home brewing. And he's jumping to a 15-barrel system.
Ooh.
Big system, which they're already like maxing. Like every time a fermenter empties, they clean it and pretty much immediately fill it again. So they're like working nonstop, and all of their beer was just really good. Like there's some styles that weren't gonna really blow your doors off. They did a blonde ale that was pretty good. If you're not super into beer, we'll get into that. Like blonde ales are not really that offensive kind of a style. Then they had a wit that was in-house only. So when they eventually do open, I don't know if the area that I was in was kind of like a VIP section. That's where we were shooting. And I don't know if when they open, like this wit will probably be on in the main areas as well.
House beer almost.
Yeah. So they also had a pale ale that was single hopped with Citra. That was fucking great. Then an IPA that was it was a good IPA, not super bitter. Didn't really get too much aroma out of it, but my favorite beer that they had was it was called, what the fuck was it? Wolf King Warrior Stout. They partnered up with Lycoming College. I'm assuming is not too far away from the brewery. I really don't know that area very well. But that Lycoming College does something with a plantation in Costa Rica, where they and proceeds from this coffee helps students go there to study abroad. So they use this coffee called Warrior One in the stout. apparently it went from like a 4% stout, and they liked it so much that they upped it to like an 8% stout. And that was, like I said, that was probably my favorite.
Yeah, I mean, what did you say, Costa Rican coffee?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's dude. Have you ever had Costa Rican coffee?
I don't think so.
It is fucking ridiculous. Like my buddy, my buddy John Murphy. He goes to Costa Rica twice a year, and every year he brings back like a suitcase full of coffee beans for everybody, and it's just like it's the best coffee I've ever had in my life. So yeah, it's pretty impressive that place is like they went from homebrewing and not only like kind of like jumped head first in the, what do you say, 15 barrels?
15 barrels, yeah.
Jumped head first in the 15
Well, it's owned,
barrels.
like the company is owned by, I forget who, some other. It's owned by someone who kind of owns like a couple other businesses in the area. So like right next door in the building that they're in, right next door is like a cabinet maker.
Yeah. So they're being
like
funded. There's a backer for them.
Yeah, yeah. So like this, but this guy that's brewing, real nice guy, and he's taken any kind of advice that he can get, any help, like they go to Trogs, any kind of like any tips, anything like that he's getting, he's really absorbing it, and it's like it shows. Like all of their beer is just really solid.
Well, that was what I was going to say. It's really impressive. Not that they own that equipment, but for them to go from home brewing to jumping into it and making good beer, like that's the impressive part. Anybody can attempt it and kind of half-ass figure it out, but to produce enough beer, to produce beer on that level and do it right, it's kind of cool. I can't wait to actually give it a whirl because they're not too far away. They're about an hour away from me. I just looked it up, so about a little over an hour. Well, less than an hour, depending on when I drive.
They had, I would assume this will be also kind of like brewery release as well. They had the same Wolf King Stout, but on nitro. And it was so fucking good. It's probably one of the best nitro beers, not apart from Guinness, that I've had.
Really?
Like just it was. However, I don't know if it was just the fact that it was super fresh. But the way that they had the nitro like dialed in, they knew exactly. It's like there's kind of a hit and miss with nitrogenization of beer. Like sometimes it didn't go in the way you want it to. Like you really gotta tweak it. But they had it fucking spot on. It was great.
Yeah, because usually if it's not too much nitro, then it's just not the mouthfeel you're looking for. But then if you go too hard on it, you'll get a crazy awesome mouthfeel, but not as much flavor. Is that pretty much usually what goes on with that?
I think so. I haven't had too much. Like we were talking about it in class, and our teacher, he worked at Mill Street in Canada, and from what he was saying, like they had issues like really dialing in the nitro on some of their beers that they run through, but this one was fucking great.
Nice.
So I'm looking forward to more out of those guys, and if you could find any, like, absolutely pick some up. Yeah,
you were saying they're kind of sort of distributed in this area a little bit.
They're like kind of all over the place in central PA. They're like out as far as Allentown. So I think I don't know where in our area they're distributed to, but I'm sure if you walked into Krugel's and said, can you find Rusty Rail, they'll probably find it for you.
Yeah, I'll definitely give it a whirl. Now that you're telling me about it, it does sound pretty fucking awesome. So
yeah.
I'm trying to think of anything on my end. Oh, fucking Brewing Company. They're fucking starting to distribute further out because they did PA and I think just a little bit of Jersey. Now they're going in Delaware and Virginia and Washington D.C. and shit like that. So that was that's probably the only noteworthy distribution beer thing kind of going on around here. Yeah,
that's pretty cool. I haven't had them in a long time.
I've had a couple of their stuff lately because they've had some like cask stuff on at Sabs, you know, and I actually do like the rye IPA. If I see it in a mix of six or whatever, when I'm trying to try new beers, and if I'm not finding exactly like enough new beers that I want to fill up a mix of six, if that's one of the like throw-in beers I'll throw in there, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, let's fucking jump into this shit. What do you got?
So, which side do you want to start? Do you want to start getting into the non-craft people, or talking about non-beer drinkers in general?
Let's do non-craft people, because I think non-beer drinkers is a pretty short topic, because I don't have much to say on that one. I think I don't know. I think people like it. We'll get to it. Let's do okay. Let's do non-craft people.
So, most of the time, if you're looking at non-craft people, it's people that are drinking, your bigger name beers, Budweiser, Coors Light, Miller Lite, MGD. To a lesser extent, probably Yuengling. There's some people that consider Yuengling to be craft beer. That's a topic for a whole other day.
Yeah.
As to whether or not Yuengling is truly craft beer, but there's people. The non-craft drinkers are the ones that have their brand of beer and do not stray from their brand of beer. So you kind of have to overcome that brand loyalty when you're introducing them to a new beer, and I think you could kind of you're kind of towing a fine line between genuinely wanting them to try something new and being kind of snobby about it. Like, you really have to kind of watch really what you say, which is why I didn't say for the description that I sent you, this is getting non-craft drinkers into good beer. When I mentioned before, everyone's beer that they really like, to them, is good beer. Whether quality is set aside. If you like something, you think it's good. So saying, hey, try this Jack's Abbey Mass Rising, this is better than what you're drinking. That's, I think, the wrong way to go about it. It's, for me, you should be kind of going, hey, you really like this. Here's something pretty similar, but, a little, like, has a little bit of a different flavor to it. Like, give this a go. What do you think?
Me, when it comes to, first things first, trying to actively get somebody into something or get somebody into craft beer is very, like, fucking Jehovah's Witness like. It's like you're kind of like trying to convert somebody, and most of the times when people whatever, Jesus Christ, Latter-day Saints, your fucking Jehovah's Witness, whatever you want, like, there might actually be good shit in that stuff, even though I think all religion is dumb. There might be some good tidbits of stuff in there, but I will never fucking listen to it because of the way they try to present themselves in that. They're like, hey, it's very, like, I don't know. It's just the whole solicitation thing, which a lot of people, I guess that's how they go about trying to get people into beer, doesn't really work. Now, for me, when I try to get somebody into craft beer, it's typically somebody I know. I'm not going to see some random stranger on the street and be like, hey, you look like you'd be in a craft beer.
The assumption that I was going on with mine as well. Like, this is you're talking to your friends.
Yes.
When you're doing this. Like, the person that you want to try something different.
Yes. So when I'm talking to a friend or somebody I know, it really, to me, is a very individual by individual basis thing, because everybody responds to different things some ways. There's friends that I was like, oh, you're drinking. I've sat down with a friend for the first time drinking a good beer, or craft beer, sorry, And they were like, wow, they'd be like, you know what? I've always heard of that stuff. Can I try some? Like, there's people like that, and then there's people like, oh, that shit's fucking dumb. You know what I mean? So sometimes there's easy. So the person's like really kind of just like, yeah, I like to try new things. What's what? And then there's people who want you to kind of walk them slowly. Be like, okay. Be like, hey, you want to try this stuff? And be like, well, I'm not really sure. Be like, well, if you want me to tell you about it, you know what I mean? Like, I'll tell you what you need to know about it. And they'd be like, okay, that would be good. So they kind of be walked into it. And then there's like my buddy Chris that I got into beer. He's just like that guy to where it's like, if I was going to be like, hey, dude, try this. You're going to like this. And be like, no. So the route I tried it, I'd be like, hey, man, you want to try this? You might like it. He's like, no. So after a while, what I did was I stopped asking him. And then he would be like, what? What's that? I'd be like, you wouldn't like it. You know what I mean? Like, and I think after a while, I was like, come on, man, let me try it. Let's see. Maybe I'll like. So there's some people you actually have to like backdoor them in. Like,
You
have to make it think it's their idea of getting into it rather than being like, oh, they're forced me to try this. Kind of almost sandbag them and be like, oh yeah, man, you won't like this. I wouldn't even bother because it's not something you'd be into. You know what I mean? And then after a while, that kind of sticks, and they're like, no, motherfucker, I want to fucking try it, even though you already asked them to try it earlier and they totally shot you the fuck down. So there's a lot of different avenues to get people who are already into beer, into craft beer. Now, when you're talking about atypical people, like let's take the whole friend thing out of it, even though that's what we usually convert as friends. Like you were saying, we're talking about people are very brand specific. They're very like, I like Budweiser. I like Chevy's. Yeah. I like this. You know, like, so people are very brand centric. So, and that's kind of how like Budweiser is actually, their whole ad campaign now is actually preying on that mentality, going, you know, we brew
it's been like
the USA way and the hard way. And
it's been like that with all these breweries pretty much since like day one. They owned, you know, back in the day, they owned the saloon that only served Budweiser. Everything was floor to ceiling Budweiser, you know, or Pabst or Miller or whatever, you know.
But not even that. Like more on the nose with today is like is perfect example. And this is, you might offend some people. I don't give a fuck. Like I ever give a fuck. Typically, in my and there's always exceptions to the rule. In my experience, a lot of people that drink Bud and Coors and things like that typically are conservative, right-wing, very Republican type people. They're like, they're into their thing or they're into NASCAR. They're a little bit, you know what I mean, a little bit woodsy. They're a little bit that they're stuck in their thing. So then, like, that's more like, that's what, you know, the whole I hate fucking Obama crowd. They're like, that's what Budweiser's targeting now. But our beer's made the hard way in the United States by United States workers, and we sweat our balls off and brew it the way that Americans fucking brew it. The only people that buy that shit are fucking like that right wing conservative crazy people, and that's kind of like, you know, you're in. And again, you're talking about right wing, you're Ted Nugent style people that are into, you know, hunting, fishing, camping, fucking NASCAR, all that shit. So those are the people, and I like hunting and fishing and fucking whatever. I'm not making fun of those things. I'm just saying it's very specific style of person.
Just an example.
Yeah, and like what you have to do is you're not getting them into craft beer. What you're getting it into is to thinking outside of the box they live in. So it's not even more about actually, try a new beer. You know what I mean? Because I could take his bottle of Budweiser and then take it away and then pour some other beer in it and give it to him, and he probably wouldn't notice. You know what I mean? Unless it was a much better beer. If I found a very similar style of beer, it's not like you know what I mean? If I found a similar kind of like Budweiser-based product, whether it's good or bad.
That kind of thing is what really baffles me by people who are like, oh, I don't drink Miller Lite. I only drink Bud Light.
Yeah.
You are drinking the same beer. There is no difference between those two beers. You have the same thing.
So it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, perfect example. Right now, I am pouring Jack's Abbey. It's their session lager. Okay. I've never had this before. Okay. I just figured I'd bring this out since we're going to be doing their double IPL, which is probably based off of this, I assume. You know what I mean? And this is probably their version of Budweiser. It's a session lager. It's, you know what I mean? That's probably what it is. And if you were to take this and you pour it into one of their glasses, it's going to be similar. I mean, it tastes better. Obviously, I can taste it, and it's not a bad beer. But I don't think they would be offended by it. That's the thing. They're not offended by the beer. They're offended by it not being their beer. Yeah. So it's, you know what I mean? So it's not actually.
If you put it into a Budweiser, we're fixated on Budweiser for some reason today. So if you put it into a Budweiser branded glass, they're not gonna. Yeah,
they'll be like, this is their new recipe for the Budweiser. Like they're changing it up. Like it is different. Obviously, it's made with better ingredients, better whatever. So it's not so much getting people like that into beer. It's breaking them of that kind of mindset of, well, they have to drink the thing. Because it really is. It's almost funny because it's like, the whole like, I'm drinking Budweiser. A lot of people drink Budweiser. Or they drink Coors. Because that's, I'm a fucking American. And if you don't speak American, get the fuck out. Like that whole mentality. Well, you're drinking a German-based company and I think a Japanese-based company. And I'm like, you know what I mean? Like you're not drinking American beer. Yeah, it's made in America the same way Volkswagens are made in America and Fords are made in fucking Japan.
Fun fact about the Budweiser brewery. Up until about World War I, when a lot of anti-German sentiment was coming into America, the official language of the Budweiser brewery was German. Like they spoke German. All of the workers were German. Like that was what you went in there, and it was not a single person was speaking English until, like I said, around World War I with a lot of anti-German sentiment, and then they immediately switched to English.
Which is just funny because, I mean, like, and that's the thing, like, Budweiser is not, I mean, you break it down, like, we think of it as an American thing. It's not, you know what I mean? Like, there's a fucking Czechoslovakian brewery called Budweiser. You know what I mean? That actually fought Budweiser to sell their beer under the name Budweiser in European markets. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, really.
It's, it's like, so it's like, I don't know, it's breaking people of a mentality, whether it be someone that's even open-minded, not so open-minded, but is willing to experiment, to you're like staunch, right, fucking crazy, I'm just drinking Bud till I die kind of person. But here's the brass tacks. Some people just will never get into it because this is not their thing. You know what I mean?
I feel like my dad's kind of one of those people. Like I brought home some Kostritzer. Because I think you would really like this.
Yeah.
And he tries it, he's like, oh, this is a little too heavy for me. I'm like, what the fuck do you mean it's a little too heavy? This is literally the best lager I have ever had. But he's the kind of person who does like his MGD and his Yangling.
And I think that's actually part of the process too. And that's more falls on our end than their end. Is that a lot of times we're like want to get somebody into a beer, and then if they show a little bit of enthusiasm, we're like, okay, you really need to try this Dogfish 120. And then the person's like, what the fuck is this? Like, why are you giving me this poison? You know what I mean? Like, you get blinders on to what you like. Like, beer is, if somebody says the first time they tried any beer in their life, they said this is delicious, they're fucking lying because it's all acquired taste. You know what I mean? And it's just like, I don't know anybody who tasted their first beer and went, oh my God, this is delicious. You're like, okay, this is kind of weird, but I know beer is fun, so let's drink it. And then you acquire a taste for it. And it's kind of like these huge IPAs or your huge fucking Imperial Stouts or your barrel-aged stuff to like not walk somebody slowly up to that style and just bombard them with this over-the-top fucking sensory shit. You're just going to turn people away. So I think it's actually almost best to like give people a baseline and be like when I get people into beer, like my sister, when she was getting into it, my buddy Chris, we had a couple beers. I brought him in through the wheat door. That's typically what I bring people through.
Yeah, that's usually kind of the gateway for a lot of people to get into different styles of beer is your wheat beer.
Yeah, you can go wheat beer or you can go ale, like pale ale to like, you know what I mean, to like slightly hot, like bring them through those. So I did the wheat thing, and then after they'd be like, okay, I'll start throwing them a beer or two. And then almost everybody, and this area specific, but anybody can ad lib and put it in their own place here. Then you go, okay, I want to buy some beer. What should I get? I'm like, honestly, just go to the fucking mix of six at Wegmans and just, you know what I mean? Like, here's what a beer. These are the beers that sent you. These are the styles. Look for styles of these beers that you like that I gave you in the Wegmans mix of six. Since Wegmans mix of six is typically going to be a beer that's anywhere from $9 to $11 a sixer, it's not typically going to be over the top in hops or fucking malt or anything crazy.
No.
It's going to be pretty subdued style. And then I let them start experimenting by themselves until they get to the point where they get a better grasp on, okay, I'm like, well, so what have you been really drinking lately? Because what happens, you fall back into a routine. And what that person does is they'll start experimenting, and then all of a sudden they're drinking the same 4 beers over again, over and over and over. Be like, well, I just like these 4 beers of the new beers that I've had. And then you're like, okay, so
you
now
can even get that kind of like brand loyalty to a sense in craft beer as well.
Oh yeah, I've done it.
I have like put out. I do not need to try any other beers.
Yeah, I got stuck in that rut for a long time, multiple times. Just get kind of comfy and it's just easy, yada yada.
Yeah.
So then once they kind of dial in on their own accord what they're into, and they'd be like, "Wow, I really like this beer, this beer, this beer," I'd be like, "Okay, well, now you need to go out of that fucking mix of six section, and these are the beers that you should probably try. To pick up a 4 or 6 pack of these 10 beers over the next couple months." And then tell me which ones that really you're into. And you just basically kind of start refining what they're into. And then along the way, you're actually building up their palate or tolerance or whatever you want to call it to certain flavors. And then you just start throwing bombs at it.
I think, like, you brought a lot of people in through wheat beers. I kind of did the same way. I kind of did it this bit. My friend Chris really fucking loves wheat beers. Like that is his thing. But he also really loves sour beer, and that's like kind of a whole other level. Like you get to really be there aren't really too many like, oh, this would be a good sour beer for someone who's never had a sour beer. Like it's kind of an even more acquired taste than like an IPA, because there are IPAs that are less bitter than others. You have some of them that are less hoppy. You kind of scale it. You kind of have a hard time finding that scale, because it kind of goes from like fruit juice to acid, and there's really not much in between. It's either like sugary juice, your Lindman's stuff, which is not really lambics, and then to like your Cascades and anything from the brewery. The only thing is there is kind of some variation. I've had years of sour in the rye, for example, that one year wasn't as sour as the last year.
Yeah, you're always gonna have variance and stuff.
Yeah, you're gonna have a little bit of variation, but across the board, it's a harder stepping stone to get people into that style in particular. And what really clicked with Chris is he has a huge sweet tooth, and he really loves candy and like sour candy in particular, so that like
he already had a baseline for it.
Yeah, he already had a baseline for liking sour. Excuse me. So it was easy to get him into sour beer, and it also didn't help. It also helped that like his first real sour beer was Cantillon.
Yeah, you're kind of starting off. It's like
we were at like the beer school thing, and they had like Boone Creek, which is the fruit juice end of supposedly sour beer, and then I'm like, this is fucking shitty, and I'm looking at the menu at Sabatini's. I'm like, he's got Cantillon. I'm like, do you have any bottles of this? It's like, yeah, and like if you guys want to really try an actual sour beer, we're gonna pick up a bottle of this. And they're like, yes, I want it. And Chris is like, I want to try something that's better. This is good, but I think there's more out there. So we picked up a bottle and had it that night. He's like, I'm fucking sold. And now he fucking any sour that comes on, he'll find, like, he's not gonna go out of his way to get different beers, but if there's like a sour beer on tap or on a bottle menu, he won't think twice about grabbing it.
Yeah, and honestly, it's I love that story. It's funny, but it's absolutely an exception, not the rule.
Oh, absolutely.
Like that's
like there's
yeah.
The first IPA that I ever had, I couldn't fucking drink it.
Yeah.
And then I try. I'm like, I really, hearing a lot about this style of beer. Let me see if I can get into it. And then, kind of gradually, I kind of dove head first. I had Raging Bitch from Flying Dog. I'm like, I don't really like what's going on in this beer, and that stems to me not particularly liking Belgian yeast in other styles, but that's another story. But the one that I really remember sticking out was the Maharaja from Avery, which is, I think, also kind of the start of me liking higher ABV beers as well, because that's like 10%. It's basically an American barley wine. But yeah, like I had to increase my tolerance for bitterness, to the point of where now I barely taste it.
Yeah, it's definitely you can get certain people, and that's when you know somebody. Like you knew your buddy Chris, and you know he loves sour shit. Mm-hmm. So that's when it comes to you have a friend, you know what they like, and so you're kind of like, okay, I would never ever do this with somebody else, but I think this might work for this individual person. So that kind of goes from person to person. Now, I mean, to kind of go through the whole, getting non-beer drinkers in the craft beer, that's a weird one.
Yeah, it's harder to try, because I think on a lot of occasions they've tried beer and we're like, I don't like it, so they're a bit of a harder sell.
Yeah, I mean, like straight up just booze drinkers. Sometimes you can do it, especially if they come from the whiskey angle. Because I've gotten some people that are into whiskey who don't drink beer to actually enjoy stuff. Wine is different. Wine is actually, it's a weird thing. Like, to me, wine is like, how do I put it? It's like when I'm like when my dog does something, like, for example, like, it's like, whatever, I don't know. It steps on a fucking whatever, I don't know, fucking tack. And I'm pulling the tack out and the dog's freaking out. And I'm like, man, I'm doing you a favor here. Fucking relax. I'm doing you a favor, but they're fighting me tooth and nail. That's kind of like how wine people are when it comes to beer. Like, they're just like, oh, fucking beer, fuck that shit. And I'd be like, no, dude, listen, I'm doing you a fucking favor. Just open your fucking brain and just accept it. Like, don't be like, okay, I understand. How do I put it? Wine is like the newspaper business. They fight tooth and nail. They don't want to start a blog. They don't want to have a website. They're the newspaper business. Like, blogs are dumb, and we're above them because we're in the newspaper. We're really fucking important. But then you're like, okay, everybody in the world gets their information in a different way now. Newspapers are pretty much 8-track players, but there is a world for you as long as you accept the world that is around you. And it's like, that's kind of like where wine comes in, because wine people just don't want to be like. A lot of people drink wine. They're like, I'm so sophisticated that my box of wine is wine. You know what I mean? Like, you're drinking out of a fucking box. So, I mean, you're one step above a fucking juice box. You know what I mean? Your kid's drinking out of. But then there's this whole, like, it's like this, like, that middle-aged soccer mom, oh, I'm drinking wine in the afternoons, and that's okay, because if I was drinking a beer or a mixed drink, then I would be a closet alcoholic. But since I'm drinking wine, then everything is kosher in my world. So it's like this whole, like, weird kind of thing. And then first it's like getting somebody that's really into wine. I mean, like, really into fucking wine. Like, that's crazy into it, it's really hard to try to do it because they just don't want to. Because deep down inside, they know beer is infinitely more complex than wine, but they still don't want to accept it. So it's like it's hard to even talk to them. But it's like other people are like, oh, people that typically drink wine came up like they've been to parties in high school, so they know what beer tastes like, or they think they know. So then it's like this whole thing. I know I don't like that beer, but you're like, well, if you like this kind of wine, then I can give you a beer. I know you're gonna fucking like it. You know what I mean? Like, it's a different fight.
I am like completely ignorant to wine, and I am not shy about it. You know, this sensory class that we have this semester is a sensory of wine and spirits. So we've had to try different styles of wine. Styles of wine confuse me because they're not what you think they would be. They're just, as I call them, arbitrary adjectives. But it's weird. And I went into it thinking I would be open-minded, and I'm like, all right, whatever, it's wine. I don't particularly like it. Ended up coming out with, I have found a wine that I like, and it's this Hungarian wine. It smells like the grapes get this like kind of fungus, like it's called botrytis. They get this. They like affect the wines with this particular fungus, and it basically smells kind of like a basement, like it's really musty, and kind of like flavors that you would get and aromas that you would get in really old beer. Yeah. And that clicked with me. I'm like, this is really fucking good. It's the only wine that I like. Every other time I'm like, meh, this is okay. Like, I don't like the, oh, what exactly are you smelling in here? I'm like, it's fucking grapes. Like, there's nothing else there. Like, I don't understand how you are getting all of these different flavors. Like, maybe I'll get some, like, berry out of it. I don't know what the fuck kind of berry. Why is berry not good enough? You know? Like, it's fucking grapes at the end of the day. You know, where beer, each ingredient that you put in lends something different. You know, the way that you roast and kiln your malt can give you completely different flavors. You know, hops across the board have completely different flavors. Yeast, even down to your water, can kind of give you something a little bit different. But at the end of the day, with wine, you just have fucking grapes. And I think I'm diverting from the topic to go on my own little why I don't like wine rant. But yeah, and I feel like that to me then that's almost the opposite. I'm like, if someone who is super into wine was like, try this, I think you'd really like it, I'd be like, I probably will not. I do not understand this. I don't, you know.
It's one of those things where I'm fucking like, I've tried so many different wine. Here's the difference. I haven't, and it kind of sounds like I'm gonna be kind of what the word is, kind of like I just said wine people aren't open-minded. I am. I've tried every wine, and I'll try it like the same way I'm like, someone's like, I don't like beer, and I'd be like, I'll find a beer you like. I don't remember the last time I said that and didn't find a beer somebody liked. I've said I don't like wine, and every single wine person would be like, nope, you're wrong. I'll find a wine you like, and they've never found a wine I liked. You know what I mean? Like, so it's not that I'm like, nope, I don't like wine, I'm not going to try it. I'm like, no, I don't like wine, but please show me one I do like. I would love to have one that I want to like, but I just
I'm going to try to find a bottle of this stuff. I think you would honestly like it.
Yeah, and I want to. That's the thing. The only wines that I actually do like are not wines. You know what I mean? Like, I like Japanese plum wine. That's not fucking wine. It's fucking juice. You know what I mean? It's like it's like fruit punch wine, you know? And this is the thing that's always irritated me about wine, is that if I were to give you, okay, if I took 2 beers and I took a Cascade Blueberry Sour and I put that down, and then I took a fucking Santa Claus and put that in front of the person, and I said, taste this. This is sweet. The Santa Claus, they would go, I don't like that. It's ridiculously sweet. If I say, taste this. This is sour, and they go, that is fucking crazy sour. if someone says, here's a sweet wine, no, it's not. It's not as sour as the sour wine. Like, it's not sweet wine. It's not.
Mm-hmm.
Like, most of the time, like, a sweet wine is just not a really sour, dry wine to me. It's more of a sweeter, not as dry, soury kind of taste. So it's not sweet. Yes, there's sweetness in it, but it's not sweet. It's just not as sour as the other ones. That's kind of what I get.
Yeah, it's weird, and I don't understand it. Our teacher that did the science last semester was like, "Who here makes wine?" And like pretty much nobody raised their hand. And he was like, "You should. It's fun." I'm like, "I don't drink wine. I'm not gonna waste my time making something that I don't drink. I'm gonna end up with a bunch of fucking bottles that I'm gonna do nothing with because I don't drink the stuff." You know?
Yeah. So people are weird.
Yeah.
And whatever I say is it goes. That's kind of how I no, it's just one of those things where it's like getting people into beer. It's not difficult if they're open-minded and then you understand how the person reacts to I want to say information. You know what I mean? Like some people are just not receptive. You're never going to get into it, or some people are just never going to be into beer, so they're just not going to be into it. Again, it is what it is. But yeah, I mean, it's not hard if you know what you're doing, and that's the thing. Like I've never got someone into beer because I'm like, I want this person to become an alcoholic, or I get this person into beer because whatever. I'm like, I just think they'd enjoy it because I can see something in them that they're going to enjoy it. There's not somebody who I go, man, I think this person would hate beer. I should try to convert them into liking that. It's always been a thing where I know them well enough to I think that'll be something they're into. So how about I try to do that? But I've never been like, you know, forcibly held them down and waterboarded them with a fucking stone beer. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, no, you want to try it? Yeah. If not, knock yourself out. I'm not going to fucking pressure you. You fucking drink it. Awesome. Knock yourself out. Until, like I said, my buddy Chris, until eventually I give up and then know that eventually he's going to freak out and want to try it because now I'm excluding him from the thing instead of welcoming him.
Yeah.
And then now that works.
And that's the problem. Like you're getting into his head now. It's like, wait, maybe I will like that.
Yeah. Okay, you want to do some review?
Yeah, let's get this.
This is a 17-month-old beer. No, I don't even know how old is yours. Mine is bottled. What looks to be March 17th.
I got the same bottle.
Did we pick them up at the same time? I don't remember.
I think we did, yeah. Because I was in.
We got them
like
a Saks?
Yeah, I was in for like a week or so, and we were
syncing up beers.
We were we were syncing up beers for the show here.
Okay, let's see. So, I mean, it's an Imperial lager, and it has some time on it, you know, but I'm not too fucking worried about it. No. You know, so we'll see. I don't know if this is a year-round product for them or it's
from the sound of it, because I was trying to find a bottle the other day. I think this is a seasonal for them because there were no bottles at Sab's when I was in.
Okay.
And from what they were saying, from what the guys they were saying was that it's a seasonal.
Yeah, that's not a good way to go off it though, because I know Jack's Abbey got to this area. When they got to this area, it was one time only. Like it wasn't like Jack's Abbey is distributed in northeastern Pennsylvania regularly. They came in and test marketed it, so they pushed beer into the area, and then whatever the area got, and then they're not. It's like a test to see if they want to start doing proper distribution in 2016. So it could be something that was more readily available, just not in this area. Yeah, I mean, as far as what it says in a bottle, it's a double IPL. Basically, what it is a double IPA, but lager-based instead of just whatever. This is spirit of local history. We're revolting against the status quo. We're writing our own story of fueling fires surrounding extra hoppy beers we infuse, mass rising with increasing amounts of American hops during the kettle, hopback, and dry hopping process. Together, we have taken a journey to define the term lager. 8% alcohol, 100 IBUs. See, there you go. Yeah, I mean, that is what we call lacing, and it is in my glass. Little bit just off being uber clear. Like it's clear, but it's not like microscopic.
Yeah, I think they're All Jack, yeah, it's unfiltered and
Oh,
unpasteurized.
Yeah, they don't really filter any of their stuff. So
Yeah.
so
So
I mean,
a little bit of sediment is going to be in the bottle.
in the butt, in the butt.
Yeah, in
Sediment
the
butt.
bottle or butt. However you roll. I don't judge.
See if I can get a little bit of the sediment in there, mix it up a little bit, sort of keep the heroin. Yeah, but I mean, it looks.
It's not like it's not bottle conditioned at all. But
yeah, I mean that's like ice cream. You actually see,
oh yeah,
it's absolute ice
I
cream.
actually really like that it's got a little bit of a haze to it. I think if it was crystal clear, it'd be like, I don't know.
Definitely got more of a haze off of it when I actually got the rest of the bottle in there in mine. Kind of swirled around, get what's going on. Noise-wise, not huge hop for me. It's more of like just a kind of little bit of a dank resiny hop. There's really not much citrus for mine. There's really not a ton of like super pine in your face, but it's pretty nondescript.
So I'm getting like. Yeah, I'm getting like a little bit of like a piney. Did you just snort some of the?
No, I cleared my nose. I'm a little bit nasally this morning.
So I'm getting like a little bit of like pine resin.
Yeah, a little bit, but it's not over the top.
Maybe a little fruitiness to it as well. It smells really nice, even for like being a couple months old, and more than a couple. I mean,
Yeah, 5.
Yeah, it's still got a really nice aroma to it.
Yeah, it definitely smells like it's going to be balanced. It's going to be super hop forward. It smells like it's going to be a piece of that malt in there. Nice little hop. Let's dive right in. See what we got going on. Cheers.
Cheers.
That doesn't suck.
Oh, that's really good.
Yeah. Nice mouthfeel to it, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice mouthfeel. Like almost a spiciness I get from it.
Yeah. That is fucking crazy good. Even for 5 months old, Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd like to taste a fresh one. Yeah, you're just getting a nice balanced hop presence. You are getting a little bit of fruitiness, you get a little bit of pine, you get a little bit of dankness, but it's not over the top. It's all pretty well balanced. You get a nice malt base there, but it's not over the top. Nice mouthfeel, nice creaminess to it almost, and it's super drinkable, like kind of creepily drinkable.
Yeah, for an 8%. For an 8% lager, that's like, I don't know. You could definitely these will sneak up on you.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So I mean, it's absolutely delicious. Probably the best, quote unquote. Well, I wouldn't say Imperial lager because how many have I had?
Best. This is probably the best IPL that I've had.
I mean, how many have you had?
I've
had like 3. Yeah, that's what I mean. So it's like definitely delicious beer. Probably a little bit better than I expected. Just off of like just me being like a little bit whatever, guessing if I'm gonna like it or not. But yeah, I mean, rating wise, I'd give it an 89.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Probably like B minus, or not B minus. Sorry, B. Probably a fresher bottle would.
Getting a lot more fruit now.
Yeah. Maybe like a fresher bottle would push it up a little bit more.
Yeah, that's the thing. Take this to the grain, 5 months old. I definitely think it'd be a different beast fresh, but definitely something I'm going to seek out when it comes out. I mean, I assume it comes out every year around the same time. I'll do some research and figure it out. I'm sure I can pick some up. I mean, worst case scenario, I got to go to fucking Binghamton, and I'm sure I can pick it up easily up there,
Yeah, really. Just pop over for me at least. Oh, I'll probably be gone by the time this comes out. So, I mean, from this area.
Yeah, I mean, value availability. I do that whole thing. Like I said, Jack's Abbey just kind of had like a one-off thing in our area, but you can still kind of find these around in the area. But once you get outside of our area, whether you get to New York, New Jersey, things like that, you can find it more readily available. So I give it a 5 on availability value. I think it was all their beers are actually priced pretty damn good. From their Baltic Porter, which is typically around like $12 a 4-pack, to a lot of these offerings. I think this comes in a 6-pack, I want to say, for them, and around like $10 to $12. I mean, you can't go wrong with that.
No, you can't. I actually don't remember 'Cause we both just picked up the single bottle of it. I
Yeah.
don't remember any other format.
Nice. So there you go. Mass Rising from Jack's Abbey. If you like what we like this, if you actually like IPAs and double IPAs, and you just want something with a little bit of a twist, a little bit more lager centric, and just a good, well-made beer from an up-and-coming company. I should say up-and-coming. They're actually not that big. It's definitely worth giving it a whirl.
I mean, if you're an IPA fan, I mean, if you handed this to any IPA fan and said, here's an IPA, I would not. I would be baffled if they took a drink and said this is a lager.
Yeah.
You know.
Nice. So there you go. Monday afternoon beers. That doesn't suck.
Oh yeah.
So what are we going to move on to now? We're going to go on to how to get craft beer drinkers into other styles.
Yes.
That is, I don't know. Do you think that would be harder than getting people into craft beer in general? It's a weird thing.
Yes.
It's much the same but different.
It is much the same but different. I will give you an example. My girlfriend's uncle does not like hoppy beers at all. He is a malty beer fan. I brought over an English barley wine that I made, and he's like, "What kind of hops are in there?" I'm like, "Just one." He's like, "That was the right answer." It's like, because he lives in Seattle, which is like a hop fucking mecca. And he's like, I go to the fucking grocery store and there's like 150 IPAs and one barley wine. He's like, I don't. Yeah. He's like, I want a malty beer. So I think for him, I don't know if it's just the area that he lives in. He's like, I see all of these beers. I'm not really super into it. I want something different. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if it's just the area that he's living. Pacific Northwest, one of the biggest hop growing regions in the world. They're going to be everywhere. So I don't know if it's just location wise that he's not super into it, just kind of like sick of seeing it all the goddamn time kind of a deal, or what's going on. But I think for him, it would definitely be a harder sell to try to get him into hoppier beers.
Yeah, definitely. It's just one of those things, man. It's a weird thing. Like I was talking about, like the whole, like we were talking, not just me, talking about the whole brand loyalty thing, where it's like someone's like, I love Budweiser, I love Miller, I love Coors, I love fucking whatever. It's exactly the same thing. It's like people are like, I just like double IPAs, or I just like this, you know what I mean? Or I just like that. It's very similar in that sense. But it's a little bit harder to convert people because it's just like, it's not brand loyalty, it's flavor loyalty. And it's a little bit more harder. It's harder to break because visually, again, we're saying, you take a beer, you put it in a fucking glass, you don't tell them what it is. They don't know the difference between Miller Lite, Bud Light, Coors Light. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Well, maybe Coors Light, but with being hop loyal, you know what I mean? There are so many different IPAs and hop variants and stuff like that. So it's not like you're talking about a singular flavor that somebody's just like into. They're just a hop junkie.
They're into the whole thing, the aroma, the bitterness, the hop flavor itself. It's the entire experience that's in the glass, and you can't pull the wool over their eyes if you slip them a fucking malty beer. Yeah,
and there's subsects. There's West Coast only and East Coast, and there's balanced, and there's this hop, and there's almost subdivisions to that. So it's a little bit more complicated of a process, but it can be done. You know what I mean? Like, perfect example, somebody is a hop crazy person, and I try to convert them, then first thing I do is either go super malt forward, tropical fruit beers because you're starting to get in your more sweetness than bittering. So IPA, so you get them the malt for tropical fruit IPA, or go American barley wine, and slowly kind of work them through.
Especially if they're into like the higher ABV end of hoppy beers. You get into your double IPAs. A lot of those are there's a fine line between, in my mind, between an American like a double IPA and an American barley wine in terms of ABV strength, because eventually it's just going to be a barley wine. So if you can transition them over that way and then kind of work downwards, like, oh, here's something that's going to have a little bit more malt character, but it's going to have almost the same hop profile that you're used to. And then maybe if that interest sparks, take them down and go into the maltier end of English barley wines, or like from American into English. Like, here's something a little different, maybe similar, just ABV range, but it doesn't have that hop profile anymore. Here's what malt can do for beer. I think there's also, it would, in the same way of getting non-craft drinkers into craft beer, getting people to switch styles that they drink, if they have an interest, if they can keep an open mind about it, it'll be infinitely easier. You'd be like, here's something that you might like, and if they're willing to take this, if you said this is an IPL, they're not really a lager person. Oh, here's a hoppy lager. If they have an open mind, they'll go into it, and maybe they'll come out liking it. Maybe they won't. You don't know. But if they can, just going to keep saying, if they keep an open mind, you never know.
And that's the thing. Like, it's like I think I know I've fallen into the rut of style. I've fallen in a rut of just not brand loyalty, but beer loyalty. I start just kind of regurgitating this similar beers over and over that we talked about earlier. So I've even fallen into some of those pinholes and caveats that we're kind of talking about. And honestly, I'll tell you right now, like doing the whole beer review thing, I think has opened my brain up to a lot, or open it much wider. Not that I wasn't open-minded before. I would try any beer, and I would never not try beer. Someone's like, "Want to try it?" Fuck yeah, I'm gonna try it. But now I'm actively buying beer that I'm pretty sure I'm not gonna like, and I've been wrong sometimes. Like, I'm not gonna like this beer. Fuck it. I'm like, I'll just buy it anyway, and we'll see what happens. So it's a lot of has to do with reviewing, because I'm like, well, gotta review something, so let's buy this thing. Except for smoke beers.
I definitely
I still haven't reviewed or bought a smoke beer. Yeah, unless you count, and I don't count breweries as smoking wood, because that's not a fucking smoke beer. To me, in my eyes, that's not. That's a.
If it's not
that's
Schlenkerla,
the what?
If it's not that Schlenkerla, don't even fucking bother.
Yeah. It's like I gotta do it. I gotta pick one up, because I've just been dodging it. So we'll see.
I mean, I've definitely fallen into a rut in my own reviewing. Not so much a rut. It's just I had so much beer. Like, I'm not gonna go out and just buy more beer solely to review. I'm like, let's go through some of what I already have. Well, what do I have? I have fucking stouts. I have all these stouts on my shelf. I have all these higher ABV beers, and I'm aging beer constantly. And that's kind of what I ended up reviewing a lot of. It actually took a lot to be like, no, like, we've done stouts so many friggin' times now. Let's go out and find something different. Let's break it up a tad. But when I first got into beer, I dove right into IPAs, and I went through craft beer, through the like kind of IPA door, and just bought like hoppy beer after hoppy beer after hoppy beer. And Amanda can appreciate hoppy beer, but she doesn't particularly like it. It's not something that she's going to seek out all the time, but she likes stouts, and I think that's why I have so many stouts. Is I would go out and buy beer, and it'd be like half the beer hall is hoppy beer, and then the other half of the beer hall are like Imperial stouts. So that was kind of where she went, and then eventually I really stopped buying hoppy beer because I'm like, all right, I like this stuff. Let's get something else now. And so like I transitioned really into barley wines. Barley wines, I think I like brewing them more than I like buying them, if that makes any sense.
No, that makes sense.
I really like to when I want to brew something and really age something, I do a barley wine. But like right now, I have so much fucking high ABV. Like I think my thing now is like high ABV and like barrel aged shit. I don't know if I'm probably gonna ride that wave for a little while longer before I try to find something different.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know. It's a weird thing, man. Like fucking like getting people on their style. 'Cause sometimes people just like what they like. So it's like.
What do you think anything about like getting someone who typically drinks lower ABV beers, and I'm not talking like super low ABVs, like the highest they've had is like 6%, because a lot of IPAs are around 6% ABV. Do you have any ideas of like getting them into something higher?
Well, I mean, not to make it as crude of a statement as this, but typically higher ABV equals more flavor. It's just the way chemistry works. There's more shit going on, and typically beer's going to have a lot more going on. So I don't think it's a matter of the person doesn't want to taste more stuff. I think some people just don't like to be drunk. Yeah. I think. So they tend to stick with lower ABV offerings because they can have what they have and not just get tipsy. So it's like, my girlfriend, she doesn't drink because she doesn't drink at all. She just doesn't like being out of control in any form or fashion. So it's, I would never get her into drinking anything. It's just the way she is. So I think some people, I mean, if you like a taste of something, if you want more of that taste, you would generally like that. Some people stick with lower stuff. Either they're just not into that being drunk or more alcohol thing, or they haven't been exposed. Like, that's the other thing too. I think a lot of times we end up having blinders on because we just assume everybody knows the shit that we know. Like, that's the problem with a lot of stuff when it comes to beer, whether it be trying different stuff or knowing about beer or whatever. When you're talking about a beer, sometimes people just kind of nod their head because they have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. You know what I mean? Because we just take for granted that everybody knows what we know. That's one of the shortcomings of beer.
I mean, like, I've come up here with like crazy shit, and I've had my friends try them, and they're like, some of them know kind of what I'm talking about, and other ones are like, yeah, I'll give this beer a try. I don't know if I'll be super into it, but it's here, and we're kind of like sitting around the table. And my general rule when we're in regards to beer that I bring to any gathering when I'm with my friends up here is when I open a bottle, it is up for grabs. If you want some, take some. And to that extent, like, people have gotten to try like stuff that they would have never even heard, beers they've never even heard of. And that's, for me, I don't mind drinking, that much beer. As you can see where I'm, maybe a little bit less than what I have right now. I don't mind sitting and sipping on that for a little while, But,
so yeah, I think the grand scheme of things is it's not so much forcing somebody to get into a specific style of beer or whatever. It's just knowing who you're talking to, not being an asshole about it, and just fucking
that's the biggest key. Don't be an asshole. don't be a snob about it. You know, if somebody doesn't want to try something, don't make fun of them unless you know them, unless they're your friend. And even then,
you're busting their chops. Yeah. But
unless you're just
Yeah, people respond in different ways, so you just have to know the person you're talking to. Deal with them a specific way, and then you can pretty much fucking figure out if the person's going to be in the shit or not based off of knowing them. So just don't, I'm never, like I said, I'm never going to get my girl ever into it, so I'm never going to sit there and be like, one day, be like, come on, drink with me, you'll love it. You know what I mean? I'm never going to do that because no.
Yeah.
So don't try to just be like, hey, drink it, you'll love it. You'll love it. You'll love it.
Yeah,
no one's going to respond to that shit.
Don't force it either. If someone wants to try it, let them try it. If they don't, you've offered.
There you go. Sounds like sage wisdom to me, buddy.
Indeed.
So I think that's it for today. Don't you think?
I think so. Yeah.
What do we got? What do you got? Any ideas for next week, or you're gonna be brainstorming?
I might try to get High Road Brewing.
You were mentioning that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very new brewery up here in Canada. 2 teachers at Niagara College. Well, one was a teacher and the other is kind of teaching a class this semester, just kind of covering. But yeah, 2 really good guys, and hopefully get them on this week and hear what they have to say. I want to get the word out about them. They're
good dudes.
Yeah.
So there you go. Another show down. We covered basically our thoughts on getting people into beer, craft beer, the whole nine. We reviewed Bass Rising from Jack's Abbey, 5 months old, so take that with a grain of salt. And then we kind of talked about, people who aren't into beer kind of getting into beer, and then like having people kind of change styles if they're into one kind of style, and had some good points, and then said some dumb shit. Well, I did because I always do. And then pretty much covered all the bases. And then hopefully next week we'll definitely be on next week. Not sure if it's gonna be a Sunday or Monday. I'm sure Joe will figure that out if it is we actually have that brewery on.
It might be Sunday. I think we're gonna go Sunday. I have 2 finals on Monday, so.
Oh, okay. So definitely on Sunday if we do it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the show. If you ever want to be on as a panel member, we usually like to keep it between 2 to 4 people. So if you're ever interested in jumping on, let us know. I'll let Joe or me or Joe know by like Tuesday, Wednesday of the week. And we'll shoot you like a format on what we're going to do. And if you'd like to check me out anywhere else on the internet, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, on Tap, Massive Beers, and all those places. How about you, Joe?
NEPA Beer Reviews on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Also our website, nepabeerreviews.squarespace.com. And if you have any comments about, today's episode, how you personally got into beer, or how you've gotten someone else into beer, whether they were a non-craft beer drinker or, they liked different styles and you've kind of converted them into something else, let us know. I'd love to hear your story.
Absolutely. So there you go. Another one down. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this show, and hopefully join us next week. So cheers.
Cheers.